Now let's write down the transient flow for line source equation. So it's wellbore flowing pressure equals initial pressure minus 162.6 Q mu B over K H log of T plus log of K over V mu CT RW squared plus 0.87S, which is skin factor, minus 3.23. So we had seen the same equation, but it was in the form of, it was in terms of natural log. But in order to make everything easier for analysis, it is easier to work with base 10 log. And this actually is the same equation that we saw before, it's just base 10 log. So before I move forward to actually talk about how we are going to use this equation to analyze this data and find K and S, let us remind ourselves of the types of curves that we have and their mathematical representation. So looking at a plot of, for example, y versus x, if I have a line and it's a linear plot, it's going to have a different equation from a curve that is nonlinear. So a nonlinear curve could look like this, okay? And this is non-linear. So if I have a linear curve, which we call it a line, the equation is gonna have a form like this, where m is the slope of this line and b is the y-intercept, and obviously this has to be 0 for this b to be the intercept. Any other form of equation is going to produce a nonlinear curve. So this was just a quick reminder of what we mean by linear and nonlinear curve. Now let's go back to the equation that we have here. We'll talk about this equation again. Now look at this equation. If I plot PWF versus time, do you think it's going to be a linear curve or a nonlinear curve? It is going to be a nonlinear curve because we have a log term here, and that is why the whole equation doesn't look like something like this. So PWF versus T nonlinear. Okay. How about if I plot PWF versus log of T? Now instead of T, I'm going to replace this whole term for example, with another variable called x. And if I plot PWF versus x, then what do you think it's gonna be? It's correct. It's gonna be a linear equation because it will look like something like this. We have the x term and we have the coefficient here, which is a constant. It does not depend on t. Also, the rest of the terms are constants that can be lumped into this b term here. And this property of this equation is going to help us find permeability and skin factor.